Hey guys, this is meant to be just a quick outline recap so that you can see one more time how to create your outline from the first step through the data and the warrant integration. And for this one, I'm going to use the topic that I talked about a little bit in class, this idea of the public school year-round calendar, rather than the other one that I had used the other day about being able to borrow the car. And my hope is that this topic will relate a little bit closer to the topics that you guys are working on, since they're going to involve actual research data and that sort of thing. So let me start out by showing you exactly where you're going to find this document. It's already accessible to you. Its title is Outline Miss England, and you will find it in the folder called Miss E's Examples that I know some of you have already seen. So if you go into Miss E's Examples, you'll find a folder that says Outlines, and this will be in there along with a couple of others. This is the video document from the last video that I made where we talked about borrowing the car, so you can still see that, as well as some of the changes that I made either in A1 or A4. I can't remember. I think this is stuff that I did in A4. So that is there. Also the outline stages document, and I gave that to you today on hard copy in 3 pages, and it looks kind of like this. Okay, so you can find that online as well if you don't find the paper. If you lose track of that, you can find it here. So those are there in Miss E's Examples, and that's what that folder is called, and you have access to that. So make sure that you use that. Okay, so back to this outline. If you remember from class, we talked about how the first thing that we do is we create a Roman numeral list that lays out the basic structure of any research paper that you would ever write. It would still have an introduction, it would still end with a conclusion, and it would still have sections in the middle, usually 3, and whether they are paragraphs or body sections depends on how long the paper is. So just for simplicity, we're going to leave it as paragraph today. So if you remember, the very first thing that we do is we create our thesis statement and put that in the introduction. We're not writing the introduction yet, we're just going to put the thesis statement in, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and I'm going to enter my thesis statement that American schools should adopt a year-round calendar model because it is more beneficial than the traditional calendar for students, families, and teachers alike. Okay, so that's my thesis statement. You can see that it is a 3-pronged thesis statement. And those 3 prongs that I have here, students, families, and teachers, and the fact that it is beneficial for them all, came as the result of the body of evidence that I had collected. When I looked at all of my notes, I saw that I had a whole lot of notes about how this was good for students, and a lot of notes about how it was good for families, and a lot of notes about how it was good for teachers too. And so that created my categories, and that created the 3 prongs of my thesis statement. The very next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the lines where it says body paragraph 1 with the topics that I'm going to talk about in my paper, and those result from the 3 prongs of my thesis statement. So from my 3 prongs, I know that my first body paragraph 1 is going to be replaced with, this is better for students. The next thing that I'm going to replace it with is that this is better for families. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And finally, better for teachers. Forgive the color being a little bit wonky. I'm not sure why number 3 came up red. Shouldn't be red. It should be blue. Blue is the color that I usually use for claims. Okay, it makes it easier for me to see what type of information I am entering into my outline. So blue is typically claims. In fact, I'll go ahead and write that in here for you. Probably not at 18-point font though. Okay, so I'll write this in here. Blue is for claim. Okay, does anybody remember what color data is? Of course you do. Now I feel like Blue's Clues. Red is for data. And finally, we're going to use a nice, easy to read green is for warrant. Okay, by the way, please do not use this green because it makes my eyeballs want to fall out. So, okay, so back to what we're doing here. We are going to next enter our data. And I can probably just enter my data in sort of phrase form because I don't really want to spend all the time right now in writing these big long sentences that are supposed to be all gorgeous and beautiful. So I think I'm just going to add, okay, so year-round calendars are better for students because the change to the routines are a little less drastic. Students tend to, oops, I made an error there. students tend to forget less information, and I think they also, under a year-round calendar, they get more frequent breaks. So that's pretty cool too. All right, so I've got my data in under better for students. Under better for families, I think I've got 3 reasons there too. I think that when families are on a year-round calendar, when the students are on a year-round calendar, the families benefit because they don't need long-term childcare. They get more opportunities for vacations and kind of different parts of the year, and the enrichment programs that they put their kids in, I'm thinking about younger kids here, can be year-round instead of just summer camp. Okay, so that leaves the last body section of my paper, which is how is this better for teachers? Well, it is better for teachers. First of all, they don't have to waste a whole lot of time reteaching. The teachers get more frequent breaks so they can kind of rejuvenate and be fresh for the next unit, and they also get to pace the year's curriculum a little bit more easily. So now I have this stage. This is stage 2 of my outline. I have my introduction thesis statement placed correctly. I can go ahead and take out where it says thesis statement, okay? I've got my subclaim 1, subclaim 2, subclaim 3, and each of these has actual data that I have taken from my note cards and put into the proper place. Okay, so what's the next thing that I'm going to do? I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change these phrases that I have into actual sentences. So instead of saying changes to routines are less drastic, I'm going to actually make that say the changes to students' routines are less drastic and require less time for adjustment, which I'm sure you can agree sounds way snazzier and wasn't too difficult to write either. Once I have the basic idea down, I can write the next sentence sort of paraphrased in my own words. This is taking me farther and farther from the danger of plagiarism. Okay, if I just had phrases on my note cards, then I can just put phrases into my outline and I can change those into full sentences later on. So under they forget less, let's see, I can change that too. The year-round calendar is better for students because studies show that they tend to forget less information over a 3-week break than they do over a 10-week break. And I can change this last one as well. They get more frequent breaks becomes students experience more stress release benefits from several shorter 2 or 3-week breaks throughout the year rather than one long break at the beginning of the year. Okay, so I'm not going to do this for all 3 of my paragraphs. We'll just stick with the paragraph 2 here. So this is the point that we've gotten to in class, and you've seen this happen already. Today, Friday, March 27th, we talked a little bit about adding warrant. I have to take these facts and make sure that it's clear how these facts prove my actual subclaim that they're better for students. Okay, and to save us a little bit of time and to let you pause and read as you choose, I have already written in a couple of my warrants, and I'm going to add them at this point. And if you would like to wait until I get them all in and then pause the video and read what I came up with, you can do that. So here's the second group of data, of warrant, and the third one is here. This is just going to be one warrant sentence. There we go. So go ahead and pause the video and read over what we've got for warrant here. Okay, got it? So these warrant sentences are not necessarily facts that are proven the way that my data is. This is my interpretation. This is stuff that I sort of came up with when I was interpreting this fact about students' routines. I was able to decide for myself, well, you know, the waking times, it's pointing out that that's jarring for a lot of students, and it causes them to suffer from stress and loss of sleep. Oh, you poor darlings, both of which can hurt their overall health. So I kind of decided that that was how I was going to interpret this idea of the disruption to routines and why that makes life better for students on a year-round calendar. Okay, the same thing here. I observed that that the changes to the students' routines that are drastic are the result of study. You either have a ton of study or you have no study. And so it would be better for you if that was a little bit less of a drastic change between this long period in the summer and these shorter breaks that the year-round calendar offers. Okay, so my warrant is sort of interpreting the data and explaining how it proves the subclaim. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop this video here. We're at 10 minutes, and if you need to go back and watch any of it again, you certainly can. And remember, this document is available for you in the Miss E's Examples folder under Outlines. It is called Outline-Miss England, so you can also search for it and you can find it yourself. Okay, thanks guys. Next video up is going to be on how to write an introduction, and I hope you watch that one too.